Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're regular here, you know I review many photographic, audio and video related products. Well, today we're taking a look at the Nikon Z5 that I've recently purchased, and here it is. Now, I purchased this because a few years ago I did buy the Nikon Z6 when I bought a second Nikon Z6 because I loved that camera. I haven't got them now, but I loved the Z6s. I thought they were great cameras. The only reason I sold them was because I went back to Sony, because I did find two things, well, it's three things really, three fundamental things that Sony offered. One was the absolutely fantastic Sony autofocus. Secondly, I could power the cameras via USB-C, which was great when I'm working in the studio here. I didn't have to worry about batteries running out. And thirdly, no record limit. Well, the Z6 had a 30-minute record limit, but because it used XQD cards, those cards would fill up really quick. So I could only do 1 or 2 videos on them at the most. Then I had to replace the cards. So I found the whole system just a little bit frustrating, but I was never disappointed with the quality, and I was always impressed with the handling and the ergonomics of the Z6. Now, I've purchased the Z5 because of the ergonomics and the handling, and it's a really good value entry-level full-frame camera. And it's a bit of a shame really that Nikon are calling this entry level, because I think it's better than entry level. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. The image quality is brilliant. It's got a 24 megapixel full frame sensor, and it is a 24.3 megapixel actually CMOS FX format, so it's a full frame sensor. And here is the camera body fitted with what they call the kit lens, that they sell as part of the kit, which is the 24 to 50, yeah, 24 to 50 f4, the 6.3 kit lens. So it's not great in low light, to be honest, and it is a plastic fantastic lens. It weighs next to nothing, and it's one of these trombone sort of lenses where you've got to, I call it, switch them on and switch it off to get it to work. If you've got it in that position, for example, when you turn it on, you end up with this message to say rotate the lens first before you can actually use it. Okay, fair enough, it's a travel lens. Sony do the same thing with their A7C. They've got a 28 to 60 kit lens that does exactly the same. Olympus do it, and I think Panasonic do as well. So I've got used to the fact now all these manufacturers are having this rotating control dial thing to, you know, activate the lens. So, you know, so be it. But although it is a kit lens, it is sharp, you know. It is, as I say, it's plastic construction, but it's nice and sharp. And you know, there's no weight to that. It's a decent kit lens that you can get with the camera body, and I picked this up at such a good price. I thought I might as well buy it with its kit lens. That is the sensor inside. You can't see that very clearly, but that is a 24 megapixel sensor, full frame sensor inside there. Now, the wonderful thing about Nikon bodies, more so than any other camera body I've used, other than possibly Olympus. I mean, Olympus, you know, are equally very good. But the ergonomics and the handling of that is awesome. That handle's so nice, and the way you grip it, the fingers fall around that grip beautifully, you know, which is wonderful. And it's not a heavy camera, it's a really lightweight camera. So that's one of the reasons I purchased it, was for its handling and its great value, as I said earlier. Now, the camera has got 2 card slots, which again the Z6 and the Z7 didn't have 2 card slots, and these are UHS 2 compatible, so you've got your 2 cards in there. Now you can set these up, configure them how you want, which is great. Very easy to do in the menu. So you can configure them to relay, or you can do backup. When one card falls, it gets full, it'll copy over to the next card. I've actually got it set up so I shoot RAW on card 1 and JPEGs on card 2. Now, for me, when I'm going out and about, that's very convenient, because if I take my iPad with me, I don't want to be viewing large NEF, raw NEF files. I just want to have a quick look at the JPEG files. So I can slot the card into the iPad, well, via an adapter into the iPad, and view the JPEG files. And they're all going to be on one card. So that, to me, absolutely fantastic. I really do like that. So on the top dial there, you have no display panel like you do on the Z6, but you've got your PASM dial on the top there, which is great, but it's lacking the video dial, a video position on the actual PASM dial. And that is great because they've put the video button on the back surrounding the display button. You see that as you click that, really positive click. So you've got photo in one position and video in the other position. Now, what makes that so good is you can separate your functions for your photographs to what you can for your video. So if you've got these function buttons, I mean, again, on the front here, it's got 2 additional function buttons, function 1, function 2. Now, you can set those up differently for photography to what you can for video. I wish all cameras done that. It's so great. For example, in photography, I've got the top one for selecting your focus position, but in video, I've got that set for adjusting your audio levels, you know, microphone level. So you push that in and you turn the dial to adjust your microphone level. So it is great that the two are separated, and Nikon have done an excellent job of that. Again, on the back here, you've got, you know, your various buttons here, very, very easy to get to. Nice thumb rest there. Again, ergonomically, brilliant, brilliant. 3-inch articulated, it's not articulating, tilting screen up and down. Now, again, there's been criticisms from people that it needed to be an articulating screen, you know, like the Canons and the new Sonys and what have you. I'd agree and disagree, to be fair. For photography, I much prefer the tilty uppy down screen. I prefer that so I can just do up shots like that if I'm taking photographs like that, or if I'm taking photographs down below. I much prefer to have the monitor of the camera behind the camera. I find that a lot better for photography than I do for video. Certainly in the studio here, having a screen that you can move outwards is great, so you can actually see what you're doing. So swings and roundabouts, and for me this is more of a photo-centric camera. I'll be using this more for photography than I will video, I suspect. Although I have done video with this camera, it produces lovely quality video. Very, very pleased with video. But there are criticisms about the video, so I'm going to go into that in just a moment. But so you've got your, again, your controls on the top here surrounding the shutter button. That's all fine and dandy, very traditional the way Nikon have done that. And you've got your dedicated ISO and exposure compensation button on the top here. But I've set up in the menu, I've set up the back wheel here for exposure compensation. And I find that's how I've done it with other cameras, and that's how I like to use this camera. And it's great easy. You've got it up to your eye and you just turn the dial there for your exposure compensation. You haven't got to push in that button and push and, you know, turn a dial as well. You haven't got to do that, you've just got to turn the dial. So whether it be in shutter priority or aperture priority, that I really do like about this particular camera. You've got your back button focusing button, your AOF on button there for those who do like to do back button focusing. So you've got that button there for that purpose. That is really, really good. And that's about it really for the controls. On, as I say, on that side you've got your SD card slots that we saw earlier, and then on this side you've got your flaps, much better flaps than what Sony have, and certainly Blackmagic. You've got your flaps for your HDMI ports, your USB-C ports, and a remote port, and then you've got your microphone and headphone jack. So although they class it as an entry-level camera, the build quality is excellent and the flaps are excellent, and it has got microphone and headphone jack. It hasn't just got one, hasn't just got the mic jack, it's got microphone and headphone jack. And the HDMI port isn't the piddly little micro HDMI, it's the next size up, and I think they call that mini HDMI, I'm not sure. So it's in between the full size and the micro, so it's a better connection. So it's pretty good, it's pretty sweet. So, you know, very, very happy with that. So yeah, ergonomically everything's fine about this camera. Autofocus is great. The whole camera is touchscreen, so again, that's better than most, or not most, but that's better than quite a few of them, certainly the Sony range. They keep calling this a entry-level camera, but the fact that it is all touchscreen on the back here, wherever you touch, you can move focus points around, tracking. If you're playing back images, you can scan through them by doing that. You know, it's a very, very flexible, very easy to use camera. Now, there are a few things that are lacking that I find, I wouldn't say frustrating, but would have been nice if it had. The fact that it's a touchscreen is awesome, but it isn't touchscreen when you're looking through the viewfinder, and that does annoy me, because I'm used to me Sonys and me Olympuses and whatever. You can have it up to your eye and you can just move the focus point around. So when you got up to your eye, you just use the back of the screen to move your focus points, you know, and set your focus point. Well, you can't do that on this camera, because as it's up to your eye, nothing happens there. They haven't set it up for you to be able to set the focus point. You have to use the joystick. So that's fine and dandy, you know. You get used to that, having the joystick. The fact that it has got a focus joystick on the back of the camera, I think is fantastic. Again, to have that at a camera at this price point, I think is, you know, fantastic that you've got your joystick there for, you know, moving your focus points. And there's another thing that I do find, when you do set the focus point, it's a very, very light sort of red box. You can't see, it's not a thick, bold box. You can't see a focus point that easily as you can on the Sonys. And with my poor eyesight, it's a bit frustrating sometimes. Where's the focus point? Where is it? Where have I moved it to? And you don't see it until you push the button to get your focus, and then you see where the focus point is. I'm sure that can be adjusted. I don't know whether that's just me or whether that can be adjusted. I have no idea. But that's the only two things, that you can't move the focus point by moving your thumb across the screen, and the focus point is really the wrong colour, I think, or the wrong strength to be able to see clearly where the focus is, you know. Yeah, other than that, the focus is great, and you know, image quality is fantastic. We're going to quickly go through a few images just so you can see, even with its kit lens, I think the image quality is great, even just with this standard kit lens. So its weakest point really is its video. Now, I don't find it really that weak. A lot of reviewers have said that it is its weakest point, and the reason why they're saying that, because when you're shooting 4K, you do get a 1.7 times crop, whereby with the Sonys and with quite a few of the other cameras, it's using the full width of a sensor. So in fact, the Sonys is a 6K downsample to 4K full width of a sensor, so it's great image quality. You're still getting really lovely image quality, but it's a 1.7 times crop, which is effectively an APS-C crop, so it's only using a small part of a sensor, but you're still getting phase detect autofocus as well as contrast detect. It's a combination of both, and you know, it's really good autofocus even in 4K as well as 1080. If you're shooting 1080, it's using the full width of a sensor, so you don't get that 1.7 times crop. That's the only real downside with video. There's no log profiles built into the camera, so you know, if you're a serious videographer, you might either want to use this as a B-roll camera, or you know, you probably might want to avoid this camera. Also, there's a 29-minute record limit, which is the same on many cameras, even including the Canons. There's pretty much only the Sonys at the moment, and the more expensive Canons, we've got an unlimited record limit, no record limit. 30 minutes, you know, to be fair, isn't really that bad. And the other thing with video, because it hasn't got the articulating screen, it's only got the tilty-wilty screen, obviously you wouldn't be able to use it as a vlogging camera unless you put a little monitor on the top, but that kind of makes it more bulky, doesn't it? So there are a few drawbacks for video, but you know, it's not going to really affect the quality. If you're only getting short clips and you're not doing video seriously, I would still be able to recommend the Z5. But value for money, get yourself a little monitor just to go on top if you really do need to use it for video. And you know, you're going to have problems getting wide shots because you would have to use a much wider lens because of that 1.7 times crop. So yeah, not the ideal camera for video, but if you need to, it will still produce great results. I've used it in the studio here with this Viltrox lens, this Viltrox 35mm or 24mm f1.8 lens, and with that 24mm lens on, with a 1.7 times crop, that's about 36, 38mm, something like that, maybe 40. And you know, you can get away with that. It looks nice in the studio here, it works out really well. So I don't see that, you know, as a big issue. But yeah, that is an intro to the Nikon Z5. Now, as far as images, as I say, I've only taken photographs so far using the kit lens. That's what I bought with the camera. But even with the kit lens, it produces, you know, certainly nice images. You have to, I think you have to add a wee bit of sharpness to this lens, unlike you do with other Z mount lenses. But you're still going to get, you know, really, really nice results. You know, I've got no complaints with, you know, how this, look, that's resolved that beautifully. That's nice and sharp. It's really good. So, you know, I would have no doubt in recommending this body and this lens as a travel combination, because it is compact. You know, the whole system is compact and you're getting that full frame image. I mean, look at the sharpness of that. It's lovely. You know, absolutely gorgeous. And you know, the colours, the contrast, everything about this kit lens is completely fine. If you want to do travelling, or it's your first, you know, intro into full frame photography, no complaints with any of that whatsoever. So, you know, I'm not going to go through all of these. What I will do is put these images up on my Flickr page, so you can see them in more detail. I'll put a link to my Flickr page in the video, so you can actually go to that. You see these images a lot clearer, and also you can see the EXIF information, and you can download them, have a look at them. You know, much better than looking at them on this YouTube video because of the compression that YouTube creates. So I strongly recommend you go to my Flickr page and have a look at them there. It's also worth looking at, I'll put a link to some software that I use. I use Lumiar 4 and Lumiar AI a great deal. They're fantastic bits of software. It's worth downloading the trial versions of Lumiar 4 and Lumiar AI. You may well enjoy it, I'm sure you will. It's great software. And if you do like the software, use the code AVP when you buy it and you get $10 off. So that's well worth it as well. Great software, and there's no subscription. Unlike Lightroom, you have to pay a subscription to use Lightroom. You don't have to do that with Lumiar and Lumiar AI. So, but getting back to the camera, yeah, the Nikon Z5, I think, represents great value for money for getting into the Z mount system. There's now quite a few lenses for the Z mount. There wasn't when it first came out. There's quite a few for this system now. And I say one that I'm using, only arrived yesterday, but one that I'm using quite a bit of, it's well made, it's beautifully made. I don't like the lens cap though. It's beautifully made, you know, Chinese 24mm f1.8 lens. I will be reviewing this lens once I've had a chance to take more photographs and more videos with it. Haven't had the chance to do that as yet. And the other thing that I love about the Nikon cameras, the Z6 definitely as well, and the Z7 and now the Z5, is the Snapbridge app. Now, I've criticised manufacturers for a long time now about the apps for their mobile phones are crap, and they really are bad. They don't work most of the time. They really just don't communicate with the camera. You have all sorts of issues with them. But I don't have that with the Snapbridge app. I think it's great. I've got it set up on my iPhone, and I find when I'm out and about, I think you have to have a Snapbridge app running in the background. Well, that's fine. And then every time you take a photograph, it ends up on your mobile phone. And I think that is fantastic, and it just works. I mean, that is brilliant, because all of us want to be able to upload images to Facebook, Instagram and various other social media sites. And you know, when you're out and about, you want to do that straight away. You don't want to have to wait till you get home, put the SD card in the computer, blah de blah de blah, you know. Snapbridge works great with a Z5. It just works. It's really good. So yeah, full frame, 24 megapixel sensor camera, 275 phase detect autofocus points. I mean, that's great. It's not, you know, massive, but it still covers, you know, a big part of a sensor, and the autofocus is great. It's got animal detect as well as human detect. I found that works really well. That works great with my little cat Sammy. Had no issues with that at all. So, you know, it's a great all-round entry-level camera. I mean, I will be doing more reviews about the Nikon Z5 because I'm really enjoying the camera. But today's video is very much just an introduction as to, you know, what I think of the Z5 so far. But ergonomically, yeah, definitely lovely to use. You want to take it out. You do want to go out taking photographs with this camera because it's just so lovely to use. And these two function buttons fall nicely. You don't accidentally knock them. They're recessed enough so you don't knock them, but they're also easy enough to get to. So, you know, beautifully designed. The viewfinder is great as well. It's a 3.6 million dot viewfinder. So it's the same viewfinder as on the Z6. So you're not sacrificing sharpness and image quality by getting the Z5. Also, with its twin card slots, great camera if you're into wedding photography, because, or any event photography, because you've got that redundancy built in. You've got the backup built in. You haven't got that on the Z6. So, you know, great viewfinder and great image quality, and the fact that you've got, you know, redundancy built in is also superb. And it's got 5-axis image stabilization built into the body of the camera as well. So these are all great things. You know, I love the Z5. I mean, it's a great camera. I'm really glad that I purchased it. I'm looking forward to trying out these other lenses and doing more video with it. It isn't a video camera for me, but I am going to be doing video with it because it can do it and it does a good job. As long as you can live with the 1.7 times crop if you're filming in 4K. If you're filming in 1080, you don't need to live with that crop. But if you're filming in 4K, you just need to accept the fact that it will crop the image. But unlike the Canon RP, you still get fantastic autofocus. You don't on the Canon RP, but the RP will still crop. Say with the Canon R, you still get that 1.7 times crop. It might be 1.5 on the Canon R and RP, but it's still quite an extensive crop with bad autofocus in 4K. This doesn't affect the autofocus. You just get the crop. So yeah, waffled on about that. So there we go. That's the Nikon Z5. Well, just an introduction to the Nikon Z5 and a quick look at the, well, it wasn't even a quick look at the photos, but a quick scan through some of these photos. Take a look at the photos on Flickr. Download the trial versions of Lumiar and Lumiar AI. I think you'll really enjoy playing with them. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos about the Nikon Z5 and many other video related and photography related videos. And hit the like button if you find this video useful. And you know, stay tuned for more videos relating to video and photography. So thanks very much for watching this one and stay tuned for more. Cheers for now. Bye.